Tech in focus, of course, this week. The NASDAQ just posting back-to-back positive weeks. Apple's iPhone 16 just hitting store shelves with AI features coming soon. Frank just mentioned the potential investor interest in Intel. Joining us right now on all things tech, Gene Munster, Deepwater Asset managing partner. Let's start there on Intel. What do you make of a potential transaction, either with a Qualcomm or an investment by Apollo?
Andrew, I think something is likely, given the reality is that despite Intel's difficulties, their revenue is going to be down for 3 consecutive years. Despite that, I still believe that the tech industry has a different view than what investors think about this AI investment phase. Investors are kind of on this belief that we're in a bubble, we're hyper-analyzing every little data point to try to identify when the beginning of the end is. But when you think about what's going on the chip side and setting aside Intel's product decisions that they've made, they have a great infrastructure that ultimately can be redirected to help build what will be ultimately something that is bigger than the internet over the next decade. And so I think that this makes a ton of sense, whether it's Qualcomm or ultimately whether it's an investment from Apollo. The $5 billion reported compares to a $100 billion market cap, so it's a relatively small amount. You need about $20 billion per fab, so that's just a starter. But I think it underscores that there is value at Intel. And the reason, of course, is this bigger AI infrastructure. I just want to highlight another point on the AI infrastructure build. Again, this disconnect between how investors are thinking about this sense we're in a bubble, versus what the tech industry is. Over the weekend, the Journal reported that the UAE is considering making some significant investments in fabs from TSM and also potentially from Samsung, about $100 billion investment. And so this belief that, again, that NVIDIA's business is going to significantly decelerate in 2026. That's the investors' belief. But I'm telling you, these tech companies believe that this is going to grow faster for longer. And I think that is ultimately a good sign for Intel.
Gene, the thing that I can't understand is, has the market somehow mispriced Intel, or is Intel as troubled and challenged as we think it is?
From a product perspective, it is as troubled and challenged. I mean, they simply just don't have the products that the customers want. And so, I mean, it's shifted to what's happened with NVIDIA and some of their, obviously what's going on with their GPUs. But again, they have this core infrastructure that I think is really valuable. So they've got it right, down 54% year to date. NVIDIA's up 140%. I mean, a remarkable, the break here. But again, it comes down to revenue growth. I mentioned Intel's down for 3 consecutive years. NVIDIA is going to be up 250% over the past year. I mean, their revenue growth. So the market's got it right. But I think the piece that the market struggles with is the ability to look forward beyond 1 or 2 years. And so they've got it right, again, given the context of the business and their products over the past year. But I think the piece that they miss is this concept that they actually have a core infrastructure that is valuable, specifically around their fabs.
Gene, the other piece of this, though, is what happens to all of the subsidies that have been committed to Intel. In many cases, they've been committed to Intel, but by the way, they haven't even been given over yet. If you had an acquirer in a Qualcomm, in an Apollo with an investment or some other kind of form factor, do you think that those issues change? And what does that have to do with the value of the whole enterprise?
Well, for all of this to work, you really need those subsidies. And I think one of the pieces you asked about kind of the struggles and has the market gotten it right, the market's given Intel some chances, but they haven't fulfilled on those. And so ultimately they need this plan that they have of kind of building out these fabs to be more successful. To get there, they need the subsidies. As I mentioned, that $5 billion versus the $20 billion, what it basically is taking to build a fab today. And they'll probably have to build multiple fabs to be competitive longer term. And so, yes, they need the investment. Who knows what the status of that from a government perspective is, but those subsidies are going to be critical to Apollo or Qualcomm to doing this deal.
Right. And then I wanted to ask you just about Apple, because those phones did come out on Friday. There's been a lot of excitement over the weekend about it. But, of course, we also have this question about when Apple Intelligence, which is their AI features, become available, whether that gets you 2 or 3 or 4 bites at the apple over this coming year, and somehow the cycle looks different. What do you think at this point?
So we're kind of call it a weekend, don't have a ton of data points over the weekend to date, but ultimately I think that, again, this is the substance of this cycle is going to start early in next year when these Apple Intelligence features come out. The reviews that have been relatively muted over the past few days, really you can throw them out because this is a software update and we don't have the Apple Intelligence. I'm still a believer that this is much more than a feature. This is a paradigm shift. This is more akin to the shift from the keyboard to the touchscreen, which turned your phone into a computer in your pocket. I think that is ultimately what AI can do. And so I'm a believer here, Andrew. I think that the iPhone can grow 15%-ish in fiscal 25. The street's at 8%.
And then finally, I don't know if you saw over the weekend, Johnny Ive, the original designer of the iPhone, saying that he is in business, confirming that he's in business with OpenAI and Sam Altman about creating a new phone and a whole new form factor that would use generative AI. Does that pose a threat to you, or do you think that's pie in the sky?
Well, it's a threat. And when Johnny Ive is involved in something, I mean, undoubtedly, Cupertino is taking eyes on this because obviously his design piece, it's a big part about why consumers do what they do. OpenAI is the leader, 200 million weekly active users. And I think that when you think about the competitive landscape, when it comes to Apple, the only true threat that they have is a Johnny Ive OpenAI combination. It sounds like that's something, again, it's still relatively low probability, but as someone who has been looking at this company for a long time, that combination has some substance to it.